where there was a seismic shift after the blockbuster trade of Jaylen Brown to the Sixers. The move ended weeks of speculation after dangling Brown in front of an unsuccessful Giannis offer, and Celtics legend Kevin Garnett was not a fan.
It's like Minnesota kicking themselves over the cat trade. I think Boston gonna look back on this. It's like when KD left Golden State and then he turned around like, what the like, this is one of the moments where you don't break a great thing up. This was a great thing.
So KG, David, mentions how this team's going to regret it, just like how Minnesota regretted moving Cat to the New York Knicks. So do you think that the Celtics are going to have major regret about trading Jaylen Brown?
Yeah, Celtics are actually going to have two regrets about this whole situation. One, they're going to regret not giving this a real shot of Jaylen Brown and this version of Jason Tatum together one good time. Like what we know that they've had their playoff failings before. They've won a championship. But together in this version of the Jaylen Brown at his full potential as the number one guy right outside the MVP race and Jason Tatum coming back from his injury, they should have given this one real good shot. And I know that generally you would say, hey, waiting another year would lower his trade value. Trade value probably didn't seem like it was going to get any lower than what you got, which was Paul George and a pick. So that was going to probably stay static. Paul George was always going to be available. They should have given this a shot. And if you are not going to give it a real shot, the other regret that they are going to have is looking at Giannis Antetokounmpo and saying, we want Hugo Gonzalez and Shireman instead of you. If you are going to trade Jaylen Brown, and you have to trade Jaylen Brown at this very moment, you do everything you can to make sure that your return is Giannis, especially when on the other side of not getting Giannis is Paul George and a bag of chips. You have to make sure that that guy is on your roster if you're going to move on from him.
The only thing I agree with David is if you're going to trade Jaylen Brown, you got to trade him. You have to trade him for Giannis. You got to put everything on the table. You got to put all your chips on the table. But other than that, I don't think that there's going to be a big regret because of those playoff failings. Like, let's think about this. They had a Game 7 at home against the Miami Heat. They blew that. They had a 2-1 lead in the NBA Finals against Steph's Golden State Warriors. Blew that series. They also blew a series against the New York Knicks a couple of years ago before Jason Tatum popped his Achilles. I think it's a fantasy to believe that Jaylen Brown was going to be the guy, that Jason Tatum was going to play a supplementary role, and that train was going to keep on going. Jason Tatum came back last year because he wanted to be Jason Tatum again. He was not going to go back and be a 1B when he's been the guy for the past 5 years, was a top 5, top 6 MVP vote getter. This was the first time that Jaylen Brown had ever gotten top 10 MVP consideration, and they didn't get out of the first round. And I'm not saying it's Jaylen Brown's fault, but I think that throughout the team building process, there is no Drew Holiday. There was no Kristaps Porzingis. There is no Al Horford. You don't have the resources to surround those two young guys with those vets. And with the team building methods that the Celtics are using, I don't think that team was sniffing a championship in this Eastern Conference with those two guys together again. I just don't think it was happening. And you getting off of it a year too early, unless Jaylen Brown leads the Philadelphia 76ers to a ring this year, I don't think they're going to have a whole lot of regrets.
But, like, both of you are looking at, literally on the screen right here, until Perk just moved his head, both you and David are looking at Vinny sideways on this. Perk, why?
Because we're sitting up here, because Vinny is sitting up here speaking on Jaylen Brown as if this man is not a top 10 player in the league. And they just replaced him with Paul George, an expiring contract, and some draft picks. And I agree with everything what David said, because, yes, they're going to regret it because they didn't land Giannis. That's the biggest thing in this whole situation. They didn't land Giannis. If you're going to trade a top 10 player, one of the better two-way players in this game in Jaylen Brown, you got to get something back that's worth it. And they didn't. And so at the end of the day, when you look at Brad Stevens, we can talk about he picked a side. We can talk about the salary cap or the second apron or them eating up 70% of the money between Brown and Tatum. Who gives a damn? It's about the return and what you got back for him. Because here's another thing I'm going to say. Who's to say that Jason Tatum is going to finish his career in a Celtic uniform? if Brad Stevens don't get him the help that he need to be able to compete as a number one option. It's nothing safe around the NBA. So if Jason Tatum becomes disgruntled up in the next 2 or 3 years, who's to say he's going to retire as a Celtic? You will look back on this moment and said, we didn't get Giannis, but you got me Paul George. And you expect me to be a miracle worker with this. Like, KG is right. If you're going to trade Jaylen Brown, a guy that finished top 5 in the MVP conversation, then damn it, you got to get something back. The Lakers got more back Utah got more back, in my opinion, for Walker Kessler than the Celtics did for Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, don't take my word for it. Don't take Perk's word for it. Listen to Brad Stevens in the press conference. Are you going to be better next season? I don't know. That's not what you want to hear from your general manager when you got Jason Tatum in a championship window. The league is a windowless league. You have to win now. And what you know from going this year, the Celtics have lowered their chances of winning a championship this year and next year by trading Jaylen Brown. There's nobody who can say that they're a better team right now without Jaylen Brown, and that's what matters.
I never said that they shouldn't regret what they got for Jaylen Brown back. I said they weren't winning the championship with either one of these dudes. Y'all need to open y'all ears and listen. I said their window was shut. They blew those series. They got a championship out of it. They blew that series to the Knicks that we conveniently forget that series was over before Jason Tatum popped his Achilles. That window was closed. These windows don't stay open often, and that window had been open for quite a long time, and they did not maximize it. They got a championship out of it, but they left championships on the table. And with the resources that the Celtics no longer have, they were not going to win. If you're telling me that they didn't get enough for Jaylen Brown, I'm with you. If you're telling me that they should have traded him for Giannis, I'm 150% with you. But we're also saying that he's a top 10 player. I don't think when I polled executives around the league, even the ones who love him don't say that he's a top 10 player. They say he's a top 20 player, and they wondered about the fit with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown moving forward in this new fitting Eastern Conference. You got a very small window to win championships, and they got one, and that was going to be it.
Well, a lot of those executives across the league that you was talking to probably don't deserve their damn job anyway, or they ain't good at their job if they're sitting up here telling us that Jaylen Brown is not a top 10 player in the league. The stats tell us that. The eye test tell us that. Here's the thing, Vinny. My thing is,
I bet you can name 10. I bet you can name 10, Park. I bet you can name 10.
I'm not. Name them. Name them.
Guys, we got to get going.
We can do this after commercial.
We don't have time to name every exec that may or may not have liked
We ain't got to do nothing
Jaylen
after
Brown.
commercial break because I'm really on vacation. I really ain't supposed to be running my blood pressure high with you right now saying this asinine thing of saying that the window had closed with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, who both guys are just in the middle of their prime.
All right, Perk, I got a beta blocker for you coming your way down in Atlanta. I'm going to get that on a flight to you right now.
I'm not even in town. What's up with this?
Coming up next, can anyone stop France from winning the World Cup? Hercules Gomez tells us what it will take from France to slow down Kylian Mbappe and that French attack.